You're welcome to the Straight Out Talk, where I provide for you impactful and insightful videos. So today, guys, I'm here with a new video. And before I start this video, I'd like to urge you guys to like and subscribe. Today, guys, I have a new guest in the building. Her name is Nicole, and I want her just to give us a brief synopsis of who she is, what she does.
Right. Thank you for having me, Sammy. My name is Nicole Kimani. I am a child of God, first and foremost. That is my primary identity, a child of God. A disciple of Jesus Christ, a lover of people and cats. Sometimes the order is not people and cats. Sometimes it's cats and people. It depends on the day. And a mental health awareness advocate. Yeah.
That's a nice one. That one, if I meet you in a social place and you give me that, I'd be so intrigued. No, I'd be so
Quite long. I
intrigued.
haven't spoken about, my ambitions. You don't like cats? No. Oh gosh, okay. I don't know whether we're friends
They need so
anymore.
much attention. Yeah.
Which is why maybe I like cats, because I also feel like I need a lot of
Attention.
attention.
Yeah, you need something to be like there all the time. It's
Yeah,
like
so exactly.
Yeah?
Yeah, probably. Maybe. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So what we're talking about today, guys, is about mental health and therapy. That's something we both. I don't know. I should think I should call myself an advocate. Advocate means that you talk about it, yeah.
Talk about it, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So could you give us just a story about your mental health journey and your getting to therapy? Because I know I've heard you share it before.
Yeah, we've spoken about
If
it before.
when I connected with you about it, I was just like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
someone else who takes
These things? Yeah.
seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd want you to share.
My journey into mental health, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, mental health for me is something that, of course, I'm very passionate about. Of course, I'm very keen to ensure that I mentioned I'm not a mental health professional.
Yeah.
I'm just an advocate for its awareness. The same way people have awarenesses for different things, for different causes. So one of my primary passions is just advocating for the awareness of mental health, because I believe we're very lucky we live in a society where mental health is something we speak about openly. But most of us grew up in homes where it was not something we speak about, right? We were told to make sure we don't air our dirty laundry, to people who are not within the family, or you're told to stop crying, man up, or, big girls don't cry, things like that. And I think the older I grew, the more attuned I became into mental health and advocacy and things like that, because it's, for me, it's very personal. I'm very aware that we are not just human beings with physical bodies. There is a spiritual aspect, 100%. I believe that, but there is also a mental aspect, which I think is something we don't take as seriously, or now we're beginning to take it a bit seriously. But I think we grew up in homes where it was just neither here nor there. Yeah. So for me, that's why I'm passionate about it. For me, I would say my mental health journey began not too long ago. I was actually just recollecting and thinking, when did this thing start for me? And I think for me, my mental health journey started from a self awareness perspective. So I was just fresh out of a relationship a few years back. And that's how these stories start. It's in a relationship. Yeah, that's how these things start. Most good and all bad stories start like that. But anyway, I had just left a relationship and I was quite young. And although forever 16, so but even then I was younger. And I remember thinking, I called that. So I was very intentional with how I wanted to spend the year after I'd broken up with this person, because I called it my year of growth, my year of healing and growth. And I didn't even know at that point what that even means, my year of healing and growth. But I was very intentional. I told myself it's going to be my year of healing and growth. So that's how it started. And I think the more I set out the intention to heal and grow, the more I started learning things about myself. And it was within that whole time that I realized that actually one of the reasons why this relationship did not work was because, number one, you are not whole in yourself, but number two, you are also very insecure. So, and these are things that you know how we normally say kujita kamkutano. Yeah. So that year I called myself for many meetings internally. Moshemanio, sat for very many internal meetings with myself, and I realized part of the reason why you are struggling a lot with this relationship is because you are very insecure. So I had come from a place where I had very bad low self-esteem. I think I looked to a person to validate me. And so when I was getting to this relationship, I didn't know that this is why I'm so hungry and eager for a relationship. Maybe externally I would have thought, it's because all my friends are dating. I think it's time. Because I was one of those girls who in high school I was no boys at all. So when I finished high school, got into campus, like it's about time, you know. But then even then, there are so many things I didn't know about myself. I didn't know that I had in like interior things that I needed to deal with. Yeah. So I was looking to this person to fill this void, fill this need that essentially should have been filled by myself. That I should have been learning how to fill it by myself. So when that happens, when you're looking for someone to fill a void and you don't, it's normally very unfair because they also have their own things that they're working through. So you're expecting them to do something that should be done by you in collaboration, of course, with the Holy Spirit, because I really believe the Holy Spirit helps us work through a lot of our internal issues. Yeah, so went through that year of wholesomeness and learning and self-awareness. I think I really grew in my self love that year and the coming years after that. I learned how to love myself. I learned how to just value myself and not seek external validation. So I think this was just laying down the roots for me, or the foundation for me, to what would eventually become my mental health awareness journey. So then, fast forward a couple of years later, now my first encounter with a therapist. So up until this point, even when I'm learning, I'm growing, I don't. I'm thinking therapy is not available to me. Therapy is things you see on TV, and and kwanza they have those chairs where you lie, and then the therapist is there.
Even in
Yeah.
Lucifer.
Oh my gosh, yes, exactly.
He's
Yeah.
just sleeping
Just
on the
sleeping,
chair,
yeah,
then he's
yeah.
sharing his thing.
And then the therapist is just, asking.
Yeah.
So for me, it was a very vague idea. I didn't know that therapy was accessible to me. So a couple of years after that year of healing and growing, I'm healing, I'm growing, I'm on this self-love journey, on this self-awareness journey. Then along the way, I start realizing that I'm getting tired. I'm getting tired a lot, more than usual. So by this time,
You're
of course,
getting tired, just a bit slower there. So
yeah.
you're getting tired of what? Is it the
I'm getting
journey itself? Is it
Okay, very
what's
good
happening
question. Yeah.
inside?
So I'm getting tired physically. So you see, this time when I had broken up with this person, I was still in uni.
Yeah.
So by that time I finished uni, I'm now working. Yeah. So now I'm working class, as we call ourselves, and
Independent ladies.
yeah, independent ladies making your own money.
Money.
Yeah.
Doing your thing.
Yeah, doing the thing. So yes, I'm still on this self growth journey, but I'm feeling fatigued. Basically, I'm burning out. So when I recollect, because I'd already zoead hiyo kujita mkutano, when I recollect, I'm like, I know you're tired. Like, you work Monday to Friday, 5 days a week, full time. You're going to school part time. That time I was going to school part time, for another different course. You are serving in church. So I've believed in serving in church all through. So you're serving in church, you have a ministry you're leading. And that means the ministry I was in was the music team. So, and if you know anything about music teams, is that Saturday, wako church. They need to praco, they need to get there together with the band, make sure that things are moving together. So at Sunday, at least worship ikwe legit. So Saturdays, very early in the morning, we go, we praco, we coordinate with the band. Then Sunday, of course, you have to get up early so that you can go support what a sound could set up, what. You do your last mic checks. Yeah, so I felt like that was my world. So Monday to Sunday, consistently, just so I was really tired, I was really burning out. Then around that time, I discovered that there was a local church that I knew that was offering free counseling. So they call them counseling sessions, actually. And because again, I'm not a professional, there are distinctions between counseling and therapy and psychotherapy and all that. But for me, that was when I was sort of like, yeah, maybe I can try, because it was free. So they were I think they were collabing with some professionals to just offer free mental health therapy sessions. I was like, it's free, let me go. So I was going, this is not my first physiotherapy session. I was going to go and vent. I was going to vent to my therapist and tell her, you know me, I'm tired. You know, my boss is like this. And then my passee, now the one who's in charge of service, is like this. And now me, I'm tired and I have classwork and I'm just, yeah. So of course when you go to therapy first, of course they ask you, so what brings you here? Of course they'll ask a couple of questions like, have you been to therapy before? So of course I was like, no, but I've heard of it. So what brings you here? And then of course she mentioned that it's confidential, etc. So in that, so I tell her, me, I'm just tired. I'm just, I need, in fact, I think one of the reasons I went was so that I could have like a sick, you know, those sick things, sick note, yeah, yeah, so that I can go give either my passee or my boss. I need
Like some external thing. You know
yeah,
what you want, but you want it to look like it's because of
exactly,
something else.
because it's of
That you.
something else, exactly. So I wanted her to give me like an excuse to take a break. So then she was like, okay, fine, but let's why are you feeling? So the thing with therapy is that therapists don't what's the word, therapists, they want to get to the root of the problem, and not for you, but they want you to get to the root of the problem, because a lot of times we take things at face value. So you might be feeling like, I'm just tired, but really that's face value. But what is the deeper cause? Because you can't really treat something if you don't diagnose what is the main thing. So we went deeper. So she was asking me, so why are you tired? So I tell her, because I'm doing all these things. I explain the same thing. I'm doing all these things. I'm doing work and school and ministry and what and what, and I'm getting to a point where I'm burning out. Higher. Okay, so why do you do all these things? And I, so, or rather, why are you taking on all these things? And it was because I am feeling like I need to, yeah, and I don't want to disappoint people. I don't want to disappoint my boss. I don't want to disappoint myself because I've enrolled for this course and I'm paying my own school fees. I don't want to disappoint my passee or people that I'm ministering with. So then let's go a bit deeper. And why do you feel like you don't disappoint them? Why do you feel like if you don't do these things, you're disappointing them? And so that was when I paused and I was like, actually, the reason why I'm feeling like I don't want to disappoint them is because I fear being rejected. Like I fear being told like, Nicole hata akwangi team player, you know. So I take on things because I don't want to be seen as
That's kind
someone.
of what they say.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, that's actually as an aspect of my personality, is that I really fear what people say about me or think about me. Yeah. So that was the main thing. So I fear being rejected, and then that was when it hit her nerve. And then she asked me, okay, so you fear being rejected. What are some of the elements of your life that you feel like you've been rejected? And that was when everything came down.
Shut down, eh?
Everything came down, and I realized the reason why I'm burning out is because I don't have boundaries, and I don't have boundaries because I fear rejection. And rejection is something I was so deeply rooted in my childhood. So those and the thing we don't understand as grown-ups is that so much of who we are as grown-ups right now is a direct reflection of our childhood. It's like 80% of who we are is in our personalities and how we do things is because of our childhood. So I remember thinking how that is so wild that I am struggling as an adult right now because I went through something or I went through things in my childhood where I felt rejected, and because I don't want a repeat of that, I'm taking in so much. I'm taking in a lot. I'm not having boundaries, and that was when therapy first of all changed my life because of that instance, because it made me aware that actually this is why this and this and this happens. So I think through that I was now able to work on the first thing, which was boundaries, right? Because I think a lot of us go through like the same way, taking on a lot of things unnecessarily, and because we don't have boundaries. And that's the most, for me, I believe boundaries, especially in the workplace, with even with family and friends, because sometimes you feel like your family and friends have access to everything, every area of your life. But I think it takes a very self-aware person to understand that it doesn't have to be like that, because you also have to make sure you're taking care of yourself. Yeah, so that was my journey into therapy. I remember breaking down, and I remember making the mistake of going for therapy on a Friday morning before going to the office. So in the office I was just all red-eyed because I had cried so much. Anyway, yeah,
You
so
know,
that,
there I can really relate with you.
yeah.
Because me, most of the time, I've also done therapy. Yeah?
Yeah.
And most of the time when I come out of there, I used to tell her, I don't know why every time I come out of here, Once every time I go for therapy,
Yeah.
I have to be silent.
Yeah.
Like my mind goes
just
everywhere.
racing.
I'm
Yeah,
so
it's
silent.
so
Even you can
much.
find me, I've chill like this. I'm talkative, but I'll just zuba
Yeah.
thinking. I even
Yeah.
told this to my therapy after this. Why are you making me feel like
Exactly.
this?
Yeah, why you make like this is so unfair? Like I was okay.
Yeah.
And you know the funny thing is, one of the things misconceptions about therapy is that people don't want that. People understand or people see therapy as sasa nenda nikae niambie mtu mashida zangu. You know, like what's the point? But how I see it is you want because a therapist has the tools. They have the tools, they have the knowledge to be able to put like puzzle pieces together for you to understand this is why I'm like this or this is why I'm not like this, right? And it takes someone who wants to heal or wants to understand themselves a bit better to be okay with therapy, because as you're saying, it unearths a lot of things. For me, I had to make peace with the fact that every time I have a therapy session, it's going to unearth things. And because of course you up until this point of your life, let's assume, like, let's say you're 25. For the last 25 years of your life, you've been having experiences. You've had childhood, you've had preteens, teens, adolescent, puberty, and then early 20s. So all these are things collated that have formed part of your life. Some of them were not the most pleasant of experiences. So of course they will unearth things. And I normally say the more you start unearthing these things early on in life, the more you create even a wholesome, healthy environment to be able to be around your family, your friends. Even when you have your own family, you have your own kids, it's a bit more healthier for them because you've also done the work on yourself. Yeah, so for me, it has always unearthed things. Another good example is um so that was a few years ago when I started therapy, and then I was seeing the therapist, and then I think I stopped because life, so you go through
You get busy.
transitions, you get busy, you start feeling like, okay, I think I'm okay,
You
I'm
can
okay.
take it on. You can take on
Yeah,
life
now
by
you feel
yourself
like you're
now.
empowered,
Yeah.
and your therapist should be proud of you, you're doing good. So then I think I went through a whole year without seeing my therapist. Like we would talk, but not like physical sessions. Then a few actually last year I went through something that was also life altering or life. Yeah, it checked me, not kidogo. It checked me. It checked me a lot. Yeah, there was an earthquake there, and it was very. Now this one was career related. Now you see now because of course you're going through life transitions. I remember when with my first therapist at that time we spoke about a bit about relationship issues, but that was neither here nor there. So because human beings are multifaceted, we are not at a one dimensional. Yeah, so there's Sammy who does podcasting, there's Sammy who does football, there's Sammy who is a friend and a son and a brother. So we're very dimensional as human beings. So it was the same thing for me. So I realized that okay, I've learned how to enhance my boundaries. I think that's something that people around you can tell me that this babe, like, she knows putting she's not scared of saying no anymore. So I still have tendencies of worrying what will so and so say, but I try to be very keen with my boundaries because I know I need to be able to take care of myself. I need to be able to and protect, also the like my own energy, etc. So now coming into another facet of my life career. So I didn't know this until something happened in my career where I lost a job that I had. And that was something I'd never experienced before. So all this time, I finished school, I'm working, and then all of a sudden, life happens and I lose my job. And that was very traumatic for me because I didn't know it then, but I now realized through therapy that I had pegged my identity to my job. Yeah, so when I lost that job, everything about me broke. I stopped seeing myself as a worthy human being because I don't have a job anymore. And I think also because of the society we live in, sometimes even pressure from our families. It's like my daughter is doing this at this company, or
Now
you're
also you worry about let's say what they'd say. Like sasa huyu alikamona amefika hapa sasa unacheki penye yako.
Exactly. So it took a toll on my identity completely. I remember just going through that period, being very frustrated, being very sad. And then when I finally decided to go to now see a therapist, by this time now I'd changed my therapist. I remember that was the main thing that I was going. So that and his idea too. Because now the funny thing is God is very faithful. He allowed me to get another job almost immediately. But I was so fearful that I would like allow these emotions to like flow into this next opportunity, and I wanted to deal with it. So I went and had started having sessions with now my current therapist, and one of the things we unearthed was
therapist?
no, now by now I've changed. I've changed because
Change? That's a short.
that's yeah, no problem. I changed because remember the first one was a free thing. Remember because it was a free thing, so like and it was during COVID period. So by this time, of course, now they'd gone back to their normal schedules, etc. So now I wanted to actually invest in myself in therapy, and I at that point I felt like that my former therapist is a bit too far, and I felt I wanted a fresh perspective. So, and I'm very lucky that I have friends who also see therapists, who also pro therapy. So, one of them referred me to now my current therapist, and that's how we started these discussions. So, we're having these discussions about, so of course, same thing like what brings you to therapy. So, I told her the entire story, and I remember that I think for like the next 5 6 sessions always crying because it was nothing the fact that I had pegged my identity in so many things, in my job, in my career, in my whether you're meeting your goals, and all those things are amazing, and they make healthy workplaces, they make healthy ambition and career goals as well. But one thing I learned is that you will have very many experiences in your life, but don't tie your identity to them. I will one day become a wife, I'll one day become a mom, I'll one day own like successful businesses, but I should never tie my identity to these things, right? Which is why I began with I'm a child of God, because that's the one thing that doesn't change. Whether I have a job or not, whether I'm single or married, whether I have this or that, like those things can go, but what doesn't leave is the fact that I'm a child of God. So I now my new therapist allowed me to understand how to detach my worth and my value from these things, right? And it was so bad at that point that I would see anything with relation to now the former job I had left, and it would trigger me so much, and I would cry, and I would have so much anxiety because I'm like, why did they? In fact, one of the things that my therapist helped me realize is that I was personalizing it to the point where, why don't they want me? Why did they keep so and so but they didn't keep me? And I remember that being so, when she pointed it out, it was so, it took me back to the rejection issue actually. Because I realized actually you haven't dealt with the rejection issue as such, but though it's still exactly. And that's the thing with therapy, because human beings, because we are not superhuman, so sometimes you think you've dealt with something and actually you haven't. You just dealt with, let's say, layer one, so now you're going layer two. So I realized that actually I still have issues with rejection, where if I get rejected, let's say now by this instance it's a job, I am feeling like I'm dejected, like I don't have worth anymore. And even though people around me were reassuring me, no, you're doing a fantastic job, it doesn't matter what happened there, your job, your role in that particular company, you are doing amazing things. So and I always thought, they're just saying that for the sake of saying it. I'm still so pegged to it.
You some.
Oh my gosh, yes, yes.
But
that one negative thing. Let me tell you, there were so many people, my friends, my close friends, even colleagues who at that point we were also let go together. Them are like trying to because them are a bit strong. Me, I'm like a softie sort of. So they're trying to tell me, no, Nicole, you're amazing. Don't worry, something better is going to come your way. Anyway, and God is faithful. Something better did come my way, but that was when it I think it reinforced in me that where yani I want to commit to bettering myself through therapy. Yeah, so that's how. And because I've seen the benefits, I've seen how some of my friends who are not really for therapy and how they've started unearthing things about themselves has also bettered their lives, bettered their relationship with their parents and with their partners. For me, actually, because for me now, because of how life is multifaceted, I had to understand that there are aspects of my childhood that might not have been the healthiest. But there's something I read somewhere, that you're making progress in your mental health journey when you are able to see your primary caregivers or your parents from a lens of grace, right? Because as I mentioned, a lot of our
Grace, you mean what's this word? Grace, you mean like you understand why they did that. So you're coming with compassion.
With compassion, exactly. You
I get it.
understand it. Exactly, you understand
Yeah,
it.
I've even given myself a
Hey,
tip.
good job.
Because also I think now I'm able to see things like
Yeah.
sometimes even the guys who hurt me when I was young,
Yeah.
I tend to see it right now, and then I'm like, wow, that guy must have been going
Yeah, he
through
must have
a
been going through a
lot.
lot. Yeah.
He must have been going through a lot of shit, but
Exactly. And that's the thing, because until you start the journey of self awareness, and sometimes through therapy, you're not even able to, sometimes you have so much bitterness, let's say, with your family, which was the case for me. Like, I used to feel like I just have, things are just not okay.
so Nicole, yeah. So I've heard you say about, one thing my therapist always used to tell me.
Yeah.
She used to tell me fasting. Even from the beginning, I used to think she's joking. She used to say fasting, therapy is ugly.
Therapy is ugly, yes.
She told me that it's ugly and it's also nice,
Yeah.
but just don't be ready for ugly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd want to know for you, because for me, what happened for me, it made me be clear about the relationship that I want, what I don't want, and which ones I want to go what way, and help me get a better relationship for my family, the guys who are close to me, like became more deeper. So I don't know for you, because you shared about boundaries, your family. How is it for you with that part?
With regards to boundaries and my family, and I think just the whole landscape of understanding myself and my relationships, I think it allowed me to just, as I had mentioned, pour out grace to some of the people around my life, because you understand that, again, we are human beings, we are complex, we are diverse, we all have different experiences. So you might be looking at, let's say, a relative or a friend who has cosered you, and for me, and you're like, hey, that guy did me wrong, ama, like, she did me, like, it should not have been as it is. But then you also realize that a lot of human beings do things with the best way they know how to, with the tools that they have, right? So, for example, my parents did the very best that they could with the tools that they had, right? So I reckon, because at that point, maybe it's right now, information is accessible anywhere and everywhere, right? So you have information on how to even, like, consider the mental health of your children. But maybe at that point, that was not probably, it's not really a reality, because I know our parents generations, it was about survival. Like, do they have food? Do they have a roof over their heads? And are they going to school? Nobody's really considering the experiences that these children are going through, right? And I learned how to give grace to my parents, to my family, because they did the best they could with the tools that they had, right? So maybe my mom didn't have the tools to probably make me a more, not make me also, because, again, because you can't really make someone, but maybe encourage me to be as confident as I would have wanted when I was younger, right? But maybe because also she had her own experiences with her own parents, right? So for me, I have learned to just be a bit more compassionate in the relationships that I have. So sometimes when I encounter a friendship, encounter a relationship, and I'm like, Papa, there's something. And of course, it takes a lot in me to not go and nitpick and, be someone's therapist, because I don't believe that's my job. I am not going to go and try and fix people. But in my relationships with people, I tend to see, okay, maybe the reason why you're like this is because you have this type of, let's say, attachment styles. I know you and I have spoken a bit about attachment styles. That's a whole other conversation. Yeah, but maybe because how you present yourself, maybe you're not as confident, maybe you're not as maybe even you're avoidant, you avoid confrontation. A lot of these things are stemmed on our childhood.
You've shared about therapy helped you put boundaries in line. It also helps you you say have grace. For me, I'd say have compassion for people who are paining at the time they hurt you. Is there anything else that helped you to do?
Um, I think therapy is continuously helping me. Yes, those two things, maintaining boundaries in my life, and of course, understanding or pouring grace or compassion to people around me, my family, my friends. Another thing therapy has really helped me do is, I think, allow myself to see a more wholesome version of Nicole, and see what are some of the things I need to do to get there.
Yeah.
Right? So the thing with therapy is that it shows you what wholesomeness looks like. And the thing with wholesomeness is not perfection. So there's a very clear distinction between wholesomeness and perfection. So when you're perfect, nobody's perfect, that's the thing. And I don't think striving for perfection is the best use of your time, but striving for wholesomeness is an amazing use of your time, and for growth for yourself. So how therapy has helped me achieve that, or is helping me achieve that, is seeing Nicole who is healed, Nicole who is a bit more, understanding.
Aware about herself.
Exactly, a bit more aware and seeing what are some of the things that I can do to get there, right? Is seeing a Nicole who is one day a mom and a wife and is able to steer her family to understand some of these things better. Yeah, so for me, I want to be the kind of mom who allows my children to understand their emotions, understand that sometimes, discipline is necessary. And when you're being disciplined, it's not because your parent hates you. Because there's some people who walk around with a lot of childhood trauma because how they were disciplined by their parents is, it was very tough on them.
Yeah.
So it's being able to understand that for myself, that when I get there, I'm a bit more wholesome, I'm a bit more whole, right? So that's what another thing, therapy has helped me understand. And I think just allowed my self-growth journey to continue, because remember, we started from a place of self-growth. I had just gotten off a relationship, and I told myself this is my year of healing and growth. So it's that journey is continuing, and I don't think you ever get there. It's not a destination. It's a journey. It's a journey. Yeah, it's a journey of better understanding yourself, better understanding you, how to become a bit more wholesome, how to be forgiving, how to let go of offenses. I think one of the things that has been very primal and important for me this year has learning how to let go of offenses, which is something that we, at some point early on this year, we did a sermon series on letting go of offense with our church.
Yeah.
And that was so, for me, it tied very well with my growth, my self-awareness and growth journey, because it allowed me to just understand who am I carrying offense with or for. Who am I offended by? Why am I offended with them? How do I forgive them? How do I let them go? From both a biblical perspective, but also from a mental health perspective.
Yeah.
So it's been, I want to say therapy has really, really changed my life. But I think one of the things, I think the most clear, distinct thing is that it's helped me just understand myself better, understand my triggers, understand why do I deal with things a certain way, and maybe someone else will deal with it a different way, because of course we're all different and we have different experiences.
And also, I
Yeah.
think for me also it has been like why you like someone, why you don't like someone. Because sometimes like I don't like this person, but you actually get to look at them
Yeah.
and then they remind you of someone.
They
That's the
remind you of
thing.
someone, yeah.
So now when you ask yourself more questions in it, you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, anyway,
Yeah.
this person is
Maybe
not because I
this
don't like them, it's because of what they're showing me,
Yeah.
remind me of someone.
What that is called is identification of patterns.
Yeah.
So you're identifying, the more you go on this self-awareness journey, the more you understand these are the patterns that have made me be like this, or like this kind of people. So a good example is when, for example, you start understanding patterns in your life, start understanding this is actually why I normally attract this kind of people.
Yeah.
Right?
Answer, I don't want to even speak on that. I
Yeah.
think I also had an issue of it, but maybe you can tell me. I used to have a thing of attracting people who like clubbing, drinking, girls like that. I swear. I don't know. Even that way I was asking myself, I was like, is it why I hang out in, which is also a part of it, yeah?
be, yeah.
Yeah. But what is up? So I've never gotten to the answer of it, but I
Yeah.
think I used to attract a lot of drug.
Yeah. That's
drug.
heavy, my friend.
Yeah. It's a bit
I
crazy.
get it. I get it. And the thing is, I so for me, I understand that there are things that some of the patterns I haven't identified why, right? But I'm able to see hapa kuna pattern, right? A good example, and a lot of things, of course, is relationships. So you are able to see a pattern of you are attracting a lot of girls who are wild,
Yeah.
for lack of a better word. Yeah. So one of the things that you then in your self-awareness journey or your growth journey would be sitting down with yourself, and maybe of course with the help of your therapist, to understand why is it like this, because it could be that it's something your subconscious, because even if your conscious knows this is not the kind of person I want to attract, your subconscious might be it's what is familiar to you. It's what might be familiar.
No, you've already given me the answer. No, that's why I like also the
Yeah.
thoughts like this. Because
Yeah.
I think right now, even when thinking of it, I think it's because, so many guys, even you, I think you'd be like this.
Yeah.
There's a wild guess, yeah?
Yeah.
So many of us guys love to be the one helping people. You see? So when you look at someone who is into it,
Yes,
so
you
that's what has
want-
come to it. You want to be the one who is helping
help.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so that's a marker of your own self-awareness. So you're able to pick up these things about yourself, right? So for me, one of the things a pattern identifies, why do I end up liking this type of person? So then I realize it's a pattern, maybe because I grew up seeing things like this, right?
Yeah.
I grew up seeing maybe people in my life relating in this type of way, right? So, and that's why I'm saying when you mention therapy is ugly, it's because we grow up with a facade of thinking, and of course all of us want to have the best life stories, but sometimes we might not have the best life stories. Sometimes some of us have just been through really rough childhoods, and how they manifest in our adulthood is something that it takes someone who's very keen on growth to be able to pick that up and see these are some of the patterns, right? So some of the reasons why I probably I'm not able to communicate very well because I did not see a lot of communication happening even with my family. So there was always words being thrown around, but no one is
And even they are
communicating.
communicating not lovingly.
Not lovingly, exactly. So it's very deep rooted in our childhood, and the more you go and nothing, it's not easy. It's painful because of course you start seeing people in a different light. You start seeing your parents in a different light, and you of course have compassion on them for that as well. Yeah. So it's for me that has just been the wholesomeness. For me, it's a journey of becoming more wholesome. Yeah.
So I'd want to ask you, yeah. So for therapy, we all get your. Of course, therapists are one of the most honest guys. They really don't care about who you are. They don't really care. They tell you things point blank. Like me, I remember one told me like, "Yo, you actually have some narcissistic behavior, some heavy ones." Yeah. It's point blank. Like, hey, even I'm telling her, hey, that's a bit too direct. I thought guys go like this. You lie to me a bit, yeah. So, but you see now, when I got to realize that now, when everything I'm doing, I got to now see like those aspects that you've been talking about, of trying controlling or whatever. You see all that. So for you, were there some things that they pointed out for you by the?
Oh yes. Oh, 100%. Of course, we touched on the rejection issue. So yeah, we went
How
deep.
you dealt?
Yeah, and yeah, we went deep into what were elements of your childhood rejection. Another thing is, um, maybe we can talk a bit about attachment styles. So I think it became very evident and clear to me, especially with the help of my therapist, that I have the anxious attachment style, which manifests itself especially with relationships, not just romantic ones, but even friendships and family, and basically people who have anxious attachment style is basically they are consistently worried about what people are thinking, what people are saying about them, what whether, and if it's a romantic situation, is this person going to leave me? And 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 I remember how a lot of my relationships or things that were relationships, that was always a constant worry. Are they thinking of leaving me? Are they going to leave me? And see, the other person doesn't, their mind is not even there, So these are things that were pointed out to me. It was also pointed out to me that I also have an unforgiving nature, like which could be both, like from a religious aspect or from a mental health aspect. But even therapists will tell you that when you're carrying the weight, even if they're not Christian therapists, I'm very thankful that my therapists have been and are Christian. So there's that allowance of the fact that they allow me to express my faith. Yeah, but even those who are not Christians will tell you that when you're unforgiving, you're carrying this weight. You're carrying this weight. So for a long time, I was carrying this weight of unforgiveness and sadness and bitterness. And when they helped me see and told me, you need to release this person, you need to release this situation. And I'm like, but you don't know what they did. So there are so many things that therapy has pointed out for me specifically. And it has also allowed me to be able to, now for me, I won't go pointing it out to people because I'm not a therapist, right? So, but it has also allowed me to tell, hey, okay, maybe you too. The reason why they're like this or like that is maybe because of this. So it has allowed me just to have more wholesome relationships. But for me, for sure, my therapist has or have been pointing out things about me that need to be changed or because you see, you can't change something you don't know. So when they point out that you might have some narcissistic tendencies, then you also call yourself another Kamushemanyu and you're like, okay, so what might be the root of that? What might, and I think for me, therapy is when you find someone who's very okay going for therapy, I think it's a mark of humility because you understand that you're going to open up your life to not scrutiny per se, but you're going to open up your life to be seen, for you to see your life in a different lens. Because all along me, I'm thinking I'm wholesome, I'm fantastic, I'm perfect, yeah, I'm the best person, yeah. And then it's this, my life is open up and to see that actually you're not. You have a lot of insecurities. You have a lot of issues that are underlying with regards to maybe rejection and not feeling wanted or all those things. And these are things that you need to work on, right? So it has really humbled me to be able to see that I'm not as perfect as I assume I am.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of work that needs to be constantly done across the board. Yeah.
So as we come to the end in just any part, so I'd want you to share like first, how was your first experience, and then just your advice to young girls, young people out there.
Why
Cause,
specifically girls?
cause, why am I saying specifically
Yeah,
girls?
why
Yeah, even
girls?
you made me think about
Yeah.
it. Cause all of them. Let me just put all of them. Cause I think I was thinking that you'd connect mostly with girls. Cause you see, and also.
I put you on the spot, yes.
I put you on the spot, yeah, because I think for girls, yeah, I think girls connect more with girls.
I
Isn't
agree.
that true?
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree. Well, for me,
But it would go for everyone.
for everybody,
For
of course,
everybody.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
My advice, or not
No,
really
no. First your
advice.
story, because for me, let me tell you kwanza my first one.
Uh-huh.
This is just a small part of the story. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was weird, because I went to KU, the referral one.
Yeah.
Went to their therapy, and then it's written there mental health.
Such a big thing.
Yeah, a big thing up there is
Yeah.
in mental health department, whatever. And then there's a part written over there, trauma and accidents.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm walking in there, and then even I felt the energy of the watches. Like all of them were like, this guy is going through some shit,
Oh,
man.
yeah.
You see now, even when I'm walking there, I'm not feeling like I have a lot of shit.
Yeah.
I won't feel like I'm psychotic.
Yeah,
I don't feel like I
yeah.
have some mental
problems,
really big
yes.
issues like
Yeah.
wanting to do some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But when you walk in there, you feel weird.
feel
Even the
weird,
first
yeah.
time when opening up, I felt like, yo. Even the first therapist I had, I channeled with that because it felt like I'm talking to my mom. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I think you've mentioned that before.
Yeah. So how was it? How was the first one for you? Just as a brief one, was it?
For me, you remember the first one I mentioned was a free version.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, so it was actually in a church premise. So
Oh.
maybe because my distinction is that I go for Christian therapists, so I feel like there isn't that denotion of like a big mental health and psychiatry, as you mentioned. Like there isn't that space where you're feeling like, huyu akona shida, But which is why I started with prefacing that, because I'm not a mental health professional, and because mental health has so many spectrums. There are those who have been through, they need like psychiatric help because of maybe things have been through that are very traumatic, like accidents, or we see it a lot with people who have been through, like who've gone to the army and they've gone through so many trauma, they've seen so many deaths, so that affects them as well. That's like PTSD. So mental health is a broad spectrum. I am not qualified to speak about the broad spectrum of mental health, but from my experience, I think that if you are human, if you have gone through a childhood of some sort, because we all have, then you have aspects of mental health that might need you to be a bit more keen on, right? Because you will never know until you are a bit open to it. You'll never know that maybe the reason why you talk down on some people is because it was what you saw growing up, right? And maybe generally you want to change that aspect of yourself. Some people have told you, "Babe, unaongeanga na watu si poa," and then you feel like this is how I've always been, but maybe it's a pattern that you've seen always been reworked. So I think it's wanting to do better for yourself, right? So for me, that's how it has been. My first experience wasn't like this big daunting thing. Yeah, it was me. In fact, I told you I really wanted to just get a sick note, so that I
For you
can,
it was,
yeah, so that I can avoid some responsibilities. But then it unearthed so many things, and that was the journey for me. Yeah, and in terms of what I would tell people is, I get it, especially because we're Africans. We don't. Sometimes therapy is seen, or mental health generally is seen as a white person scenario. Like it's even when we talk about suicide, because we haven't talked about suicide. It's normally seen as a white person thing. Like why
Or
is
a
that?
rich person thing.
Yeah,
Rich people
actually,
with
rich
problems.
people, yeah, either rich people problems or white people problems,
Yeah.
because like why are and because I know people in my life who have been through such really, really difficult times where, like, I don't want to say suicide, like they felt like suicide was the only option that they might have had. And when you think about it, you realize that I'm happy that we're speaking about it a bit more now, but so much work needs to be done with regards to how we relate to each other. How we relate to each other in terms of mental health, how we need to stop stigmatizing the fact that mental health is a thing, which is why for me I call myself a mental health awareness advocate. So I'm advocating for the awareness. Just be aware that we are human beings. The same way we have physical health, we have mental health, and we need to be able to be a bit more proactive with that. If for someone else it might look like just starting the journey, understanding their feelings, understanding maybe this is why I might be feeling this way or this way. It might be taking the next step to see a therapist, or taking the next step to maybe and I think sometimes we say go to therapy, but maybe they might not even want to start with therapy. They might want to start with going to talk to their pastor or something, but not
Or
sitting down.
someone close who they trust.
They trust, but not sitting there with such heavy hearts, because we all go through very crazy things, right? So for me, that would be it, and not just for girls or dudes, but across the board. Understand that you are a human being, whose mental health is very important for you. It's very, very crucial, very important. And you need to be able to just take steps to even just become a more wholesome being. Your future self will thank you. Like, I know my future self will thank me for doing the work right now. My future self will thank me for learning how to deal with rejection right now, learning how to deal with so I learn how to love myself right now, because I know that, especially now I can maybe speak to the girls now, because I know we live in a society that has unrealistic beauty standards, right? We live in a world where you're constantly being bombarded with images of what perfection looks like, right? So perfection is this type of skin tone, this type of hair, or you need to be able to be this type of size, right? And that was my story, because I always felt like I was not pretty enough with the standards of the world, right? And it took me a very long time to learn how to just love myself. And this was on that journey of self-awareness, that journey of self-love, that journey of being able to understand that there are aspects, and as I mentioned, part of the reason why I was in a wrong relationship was because I felt like, hey, this person has loved me, I must clear, because at that point I did not have any type of,
Oh my god.
like, I was my self-love was so low, my esteem was so low, that even when the relationship wasn't really all that good, all that healthy, I was so scared of letting it go, because I didn't know how to love myself. I didn't know that I had clear distinction, identity, outside being so and so's girlfriend, outside being so and so's whatever. Yeah.
Also, the love for you made you, for the way they loved you, made you want to be with them for the wrong reason.
For the wrong reasons, exactly. Yeah. So now healing, doing all this self work, like, I know my future self. My future self is going to thank me for being a more wholesome person, being someone who loves myself. And even though I want to be loved by my future husband one day, I know that it's not good. That's not going to be the reason why I'm whole. Yeah, that I will be his wife, yes, and he will love me, but I will be very whole as myself, right? And I will understand these are some of the areas that I've worked on myself. Yeah, so those are some of the things I could give people to understand. Mental health is important, therapy is important. I know there's this thing of, I'm going to go and sit and talk with people, someone who doesn't know me, about my problems. Then they're going to. The thing with therapists is that, or mental health professionals, is that they are trained. They have the tools, they have the knowledge to be able to support you in that journey. I can tell you that because they're human beings, of course, they will listen to you, so they'll be like, wow, this is very interesting. But they won't judge you, right? Because they've been trained to put away prejudices, because of course they've been trained to see the worst of the worst. Maybe for you, you're coming with, you just need to to heal about a couple of things. They're like, okay, fine, let me see how I can support you to do the deeper work with regards to this. Yeah, so give therapy a shot. It's not the prettiest thing, especially when you're unearthing things, but 100% your future self, your future generations will thank you because of being a bit more aware of your mental health. Yeah, the same way you take care of yourself physically, the same way you work out, you eat healthy, you have a routine around these practices. Let's get into the habit of having mental health routine practices, right? That could be maybe seeing a therapist maybe once a month. It could be practices such as journaling. I'm very big on journaling just because it helps me when I'm very scatterbrained, I put my thoughts down and I can identify, this is why I'm feeling like this. This is why, and it's attached to this, and this, and this. There are a lot of mental health practices that we can adopt. Of course, surrounding yourself with people who do not stigmatize mental health. I very easily shut down conversations on, why is this funny? You're not okay? Why? No, like you won't speak badly about someone who's going through something when I'm there.
Be there for them.
Yeah, I'll be there for them because I know
What they're going through.
what they're going through. Yeah,
Compassion, and also-
compassion, exactly. And then finally, vulnerability. I'm a very big believer that vulnerability connects us as human beings, which is why, for me, I'm very able to share my stories, because I understand that someone else might be going through something similar to me, and maybe they're thinking, this is just me, it's just my problem. But maybe they hear about a Nicole somewhere who also went through the same thing, and it hits them that, aya, kumbe, our human,
I'm normal.
yeah, I'm normal, and our experiences as human beings are so similar. But because we don't talk about it, we don't talk about some of the things that we go through as human beings. That's why you find someone is to the point of despair, dejection. They want to, commit suicide, but or die by suicide, but because no one has expressed that they are going through the same thing. Yeah. So I'm very big on vulnerability. If you can be able to just find a community where you can share some of the things, the struggles that you're going through, it's very important. But of course, finding a professional, because I, as your friend, will listen, I'll empathize, I'll give you some tidbits here and there.
Steps on how they can.
Yeah, exactly. So
Okay.
if you can find professional help, the better. Yeah.
So, Nicole, that was beautiful. Guys, you've heard it all. You've seen it all with the beautiful Nicole over here with the red turban. Yeah. So she shared a lot on mental health. And you guys, man, I don't even have more to say on that, man. That was so nice.
Yeah.
So, guys, I'd urge you guys to comment why you really resonated with Nicole, what points you actually say. Nicole, she got it. And also me, maybe I got it. That's some points, yeah? So, comment, like, and subscribe. Thank you for watching this video till the end. I release videos just like this every week, and you don't want to miss it. Till next time, keep it Sammy smiley, and we are out.
We're out. Peace.
It's nice, man. Peace.